Welcome back. Now our second topic is going to focus on Egypt's achievements in the field of pharmaceutical industry. And to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have with us over the phone our dear guest, Dr. Islam Anaan, advisor to Minister of Health, Health Policy and Economics Consultant. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, sir. Well, Dr. Anaan, give us an idea about the latest Fitch agency report and its significance.
Perfect. So if we just shed some light on Fitch itself. So Fitch, they make for all sectors, including healthcare, an annual report which is issued quarterly about the progress strategically, economically, and the investment opportunities. And for every year, they compare countries to each others, and they compare the country itself to the previous years. And we can see in the 2024-2025 Fitch reports that they praised Egypt this year for strategic health and pharmaceutical advancements, and they shed light on a lot of factors. For example, the pharmaceutical market. Of course, we are talking about a market in around 300 billion Egyptian pounds this year, which is a huge increase if we compare it 5 years ago. We are talking about double the investment. And also they focus on the export as well. And as you know, in Egypt, we locally produce 92% of our local needs.
Yes.
And we export 8%. And if we look at Africa, they produce from 5 to 10% only of the local needs, and they export the rest. So we do have a golden opportunity, and hence the ambitious plan of the Egyptian government is to increase the exportation by 40% when we reach 2030. We are aiming around $500 million US increase. And having said that, they shed as well a lot of sections regarding the localization plan and the partnerships happening in Egypt between the Egyptian country and the multinational pharmaceutical plants and firms to make a technology transfer to the Egyptian market, to establish more factories, and even for the 8% that we are actually exporting, to locally manufacture them on ground.
Yes.
So the main focus for investment, it sheds some light whether it is a country of interest for foreign investment or not. And we've been actually put in a nomenclature as a black horse for investment, which is a very good opportunity in the future for foreign investment and the multinational companies to invest more, especially that the regulatory reform that happened when you can actually register a medication only in 6 months instead of 3 to 5 years, compared to the region around us and compared to a lot of emerging countries around us.
Yes, yes. So, Doctor, we'd like to know more about what are the steps that the Egyptian state have taken in order to achieve a good impact and to boost the field of pharmaceutical industry.
Okay, we need days and days to talk about that, but just to give a quick highlight about it. There is major improvements. For example, the drug registration timelines, it dropped dramatically. We were just talking about it. It was previously 3 to 5 years, and most of the countries is 3 to 5 years. And currently it's around 6 months. So it enables faster drug availability and registration. So imagine if you do have a medication which is launched in the US, for example, or Europe, you can find it in Egypt 6 months after. Previously, we would have just waited for 3 to 5 years. And it increased as well the global investment appeal because it's an area where you can actually make a fast launch in it. The legal framework for clinical trials as well has been strengthened. We have the law which is issued in 2020 and the executive regulations issued in 2022. We enhanced the ethical standards, so as well it's a good opportunity for companies to make clinical trials on the Egyptian soil. We have the vaccine research and development. So, for example, in 2024, the Egyptian Ministry of Health and Population secured around 40 million euros in the agreements with the EU countries to support vaccine production, the scientific research, as well as you know, we've made the vaccine localization plan. So in terms of preventive medicine and registration, we've done huge advancement. Also for the health outcomes, and the report is focusing significantly on the health outcome and disease control in the infectious diseases. You have malaria, for example. In 2024, as you remember, we've been talking about the WHO certification for Egypt as a malaria-free country. We celebrated decades of eradication effort. We as well had a previous episode talking about measles and rubella. We've eliminated measles and rubella, and of course we've been discussing a lot the eradication plan for hepatitis C.
Yes.
We've got a massive screening for 50 million Egyptian citizens. The treatment campaign we reduced the HCV prevalence, which was around 20%, to be 0.4. And that's why the WHO awarded Egypt the gold level classification in hepatitis C elimination plan, the road to elimination. And even if we are talking about the non-communicable diseases like the chronic diseases, Fitch as well notes Egypt proactive strategies in it, especially against diabetes and the nationwide screening in diabetes and hypertension and the cancer plan that was actually launched soon.
Yes, Dr. Anaan, what about the attracting investments concerning the industry of pharmaceutical?
So if we're talking specifically about the pharmaceutical lines, we are talking about the existence of pharmaceutical firms in Egypt. So it's very important to mention that Egypt is the oldest manufacturer of medications and pharmaceutical products in the region.
In the region,
in Middle East and Africa. And we are the largest producers of goods as well in Africa. And we do have the existence of most of the multinational pharmaceutical companies on ground, whether they actually work as local with local plants, they do have their own plants, or through a scientific office. So if we are aiming to increase exportation and we have more of foreign currency, we need to make sure that we do have laws and regulations that permits fair pricing for exportation. And this is the main topic, to have good price to be able to allow our investors, the multinationals, to produce in Egypt and then export to the African countries. And that was actually happening since 2018. We've witnessed the establishment of the Egyptian Drug Authority, which is focusing mainly on the drug registration, pricing, exportation regulations, and the quality of medications. And currently, they achieve the maturity level 4 with the WHO, which is to say that any medication produced on the Egyptian soil got a maturity level 4, which is as standardized as the product in the EU and the US. Means you can freely export. And the second one is to have a pricing certificate, which is the second achievement for the EDA, so they can export more. The plan of exportation is mainly depending on the two things. Another one is the opportunity we mentioned in Africa, and also the technology transfer we can do. And we've witnessed this year a lot of memorandum of understanding between Egypt and the African countries to make exportation, that's one thing, but to make as well a technology transfer, to make plants there and to transfer the knowledge, the know-how of the industry itself to the other country. And the pharmaceutical sector is looking at Egypt now as a black horse, as I was mentioning, that we would like to invest more. If I do have a plant, I would love to expand the plant. If I can actually make a contract with local manufacturer, as we've seen with Jepto Pharma, for example, which is the governmental arm for the pharmaceutical manufacturing, signing with a lot of Swiss companies, a lot of US companies, to locally produce the 8% we were mentioning that we're still exporting in Egypt.
Yes. Doctor, you've just mentioned that Egypt is one of the, is the oldest actually in the field of pharmaceutical industry in the region and in Africa. So what is the role model for us, for Egypt in the European countries? Could you raise an example or the a country that Egypt, there is a kind of cooperation in the field of pharmaceutical industry?
Perfect. So if we are saying that we do have a country which is, we can take it as a case study or a role model for Egypt,
Yes.
you will not find a country that Egypt is mimicking or actually taking exactly what
Yes.
the steps they're taking, but you will find an Egyptian adaptation of the EU countries. You
Yes.
will find an Egyptization of the models itself happening, for example, in the Netherlands, when you are depending on private insurance. You will find as well a split of sections like we've seen in Germany, for example, and with the EDVEC doing the health technology assessment. You will find some resemblance to the French system where you can have a fast registration for medication. So we've done our own model. Of course, we've studied a lot of the EU and the US and the Canadian system to come up with an unique Egyptian model that fits the culture, that fits the big, massive population. We are 115 currently, and as well being a hub and the ambitious plan that we are having. But if we are talking about the collaboration and cooperation between the Egyptian government and European countries, we are talking mainly with the Swiss companies there, because Switzerland got huge advancement in the pharmaceutical production. So we can see that a lot of memorandum of understanding were signed between Egypt and Switzerland.
Yes.
And the contracts and the MOUs are focusing mainly on how to transfer the knowledge from Switzerland to Egypt in the manufacturing itself, how to make sure that we do have enough diagnostics for the pharmaceutical medications happening here, and a lot of focus in the orphan drug manufacturing. And the orphan drug, we are referring to drugs treating rare disease. If we're talking hemophilia, multiple sclerosis, Gaucher, Duchenne, these are diseases that we call rare diseases. It happens in a very rare population. And previously, we didn't have the know-how of treatment, maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and we don't have the treatment itself, the diagnostics or treatment.
Yes.
Currently, we do have the infrastructure. Currently, we are exceeding a lot of countries in the region, and we've been recognized as well from the WHO as the leading example in the region in treating rare diseases using orphan drugs. So in here we're talking a pure Egyptian model focusing on the disease patterns that we are having.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information. Dr. Islam Anaan, the advisor to the Minister of Health, also Health Policy and Economics Consultant. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. We really had the pleasure to have this phone with you. And with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this episode of our program, The Breakfast Show. My name is Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.